Well, good rising, everyone, and Welcome back to Coffee Talk with Karen B on this fine Moonday morning. Can you guys let me know if my stream's okay? I'm getting an error. But it looks like everything's okay. But you know, YouTube hates me, so whatever. So whatever. What's up, everybody? Who's here? Lowry is first. But he kind of cheated because he's on my back porch. Tony Coriolis, Billingtano, Liz the Iron Maiden, Dr. E. Vales, Leland Witt, Billingtano, Aisling 717, Liz the Iron Maiden, Valley Parks, Vincent Loonman. All good. Hello, Jana. I am Ion's cat, Ivan T. Laura Trace C. Dreddies 420. Special K. Hello, all you lovely people. Okay, sweet. Just want to make sure. What's up, pig dog? Let me send a little link. Let me send a link. See if our friends want to join in before they say. And let's see if I can add a window capture. There we go. Sorry, you guys, 1 second. Let's see. Sorry, you guys. Why does it keep doing that? Okay, whatever. Make it small. There we go. Boom. All right. Can you hear me? Nope. I have to be there too, or you can't hear me.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Perfect. Because I'm just going to sit in your rocking chair and listen to you go about your business.
I'm just trying to make it so it doesn't look weird. Oh my gosh, the birds are loud.
It's kind of cool though, right?
Yeah. All right, so All right, whatever. That's as good as it's gonna get. Sounds peaceful.
It is, indeed. I'm actually having coffee on Coffee Top. I'm usually never even awake at this time.
Is there any reason to live in this Matrix simulation? Asked Daddy. What do you mean, is there any reason to live in the... First of all, I don't think we live in a simulation. God, your sound is so loud.
Mine is?
Yeah. That background noise. It's a little much. I'm gonna turn it down a little bit. Would you ever try to build a rocking chair? Asked Tony. Well, I mean, I don't know. I like the benches. The benches are pretty easy to make. They're fun. They worked. Rocking chair. Actually, I was trying to think of how to make the benches rock the other day. Seriously, I was like, if I just rounded those legs, because he's got these big heavy duty legs on those rocking chair, then I could probably turn it into a rocking bench. That would be kind of trippy, right? How about a rocking bench?
Those benches are rad. Super cool.
Artist Seer says you're hanging out with Run Boston Bear. Were you at Confluence? Did you see Run Boston Bear take a picture with that shill Ian Carroll? I love Run Boston Bear, but holy crap. I hope he doesn't start hanging out with that dude for real. Because that dude is definitely shady AF, if you ask me.
I still don't know much about him. I know what you told me yesterday. BlackRock, and the Heritage Foundation, that's enough.
If you go on X and you start looking at all the posts people have made about him, exposing him and like showing clips of him, you know, basically like somebody's like, oh, what about Brock Pierce, who's also tied in with Eric, and he pushes that stupid Eric Prince phone and he goes around streaming from Airbnbs with Starlink, talking about, you know, promoting Starlink and shit. Like, it's just so obvious. It's so obvious. Yes, I made a second bench, Billingtano.
I think Starlink is like the new DirecTV. You know what I mean? It's just like rebranded cable. Made it spacey.
It's basically, if you look into it though, like he wants to build like basically a spy network. I mean, he's in with the government. He's all buddy-buddy with Trump or whatever, right? They want to build a like mass surveillance network that, you know, with Elon's Starlink. And then they want to put a chip in everybody's brain and they want to control everybody like remote controlled fucking robots. I mean, I don't think they'll achieve it, but I'm just saying that's what they want to do. You know?
I mean, every single version of Elon just gets stranger and stranger. I mean, I don't know if there's more than one Elon or if there's, you know, they're using AI to, like, make him walk around or whatever, but it's weird. He becomes weirder by the day.
I don't think... How could he be doing all that stuff? How could one person be, like, the head of all these companies and then be tweeting all fucking day long? You know, and then traveling to all these places. Like, it doesn't make sense. It's not possible.
And, you know, he's not that smart on top of it. So, like, you know, like he's a figurehead. A figurehead and probably AI sometimes and probably, like, a double or, you know, if you believe in that cloning stuff. But either way, he's kind of retarded. So it's like, I don't know how you could possibly manage, you know, multiple companies and also do the publicity work that he's doing.
I actually don't really buy the cloning thing, but I definitely think that they're using, you know, like a team or something of people to,
Mm-hmm.
play the role of Elon to make him look like he's some fucking kind of genius Tony Stark dude, but actually it's just a bunch of phony people behind the scenes, like the Wizard of Oz and shit.
He says some of the dumbest shit, and it's like, it's almost on purpose. It's almost like they're trying to see how stupid people are that follow him, like how many stupid things that he could say and they can get away with. It's kind of like rubbing your nose in dog shit, like over and over again, sort of a humiliation ritual type of thing, where it's like, let's make him say this today and see how many people buy it, and then they scoop up those numbers and throw them into their algorithms and be like, okay, we got this many people that actually are still buying this shit.
Hmm.
I mean, that had to have been scripted when he was like, the reason what is it, look so fake? It's
You
real
can tell
because it
it's
looks
real
so
because
fake.
it looks so fake, yeah.
Yeah, that had to be scripted. That had to be something that he had to say.
Well, because everybody
So
was
that,
saying it looked fake because that Tesla bullshit was fake. I mean, they put the
mhm.
Roadster in space was ridiculous. Even people who believe in space saw that and they're like, "Oh, that's not supposed to be real, is it? That's not real."
Yeah.
And they totally downplay it. So I don't know.
That's all right. Katy Perry did us a big old favor a couple weeks ago. So
Oh my god, that whole
yeah, I'll
thing
be
was so
interested.
ridiculous, so
Yeah.
ridiculous.
Elon Musk was in the movie Iron Man 2. Was he actually made a cameo, Tony? Um, hmm.
Clan's all here. Spicy Sarah. I would like to be controlled if everything and everyone is in the control. That doesn't make sense. What's up, Earth first, space later?
Okay, so like we've been kind of on the road and in the dark, but it's like you want to catch me up. So Confluence, this was like sort of an alternate because it looks like Mark Gober gave a talk there.
It's run by this dude named Alex Zek. Are you familiar with Alex Zek?
I am not. I am out of the loop right now, so please
He's
catch
like
me
a
up.
ex-Marine and he has a podcast called The Way Forward, and he's like he's a big on like exposing the COVID lie and the virus lie and like that sort of thing. And actually I like that. I like a lot of the things that guy says. Um like I can't really say anything bad about that guy in particular, but then he puts on these conferences called Confluence where he has like a bunch of alternative health people um show up, and like and it seems pretty good, like there's good things going on there, but then they'll have like one year he had fucking Zuby. You know who Zuby is?
Vaguely.
He's like that
Catch me
black
up.
hip-hop rapper dude who's like got this ridiculously large account on Twitter, and he like I don't even know like why that guy's famous. I never hear any of his music, and the stuff that I did hear it wasn't even that great. He's just like some, I don't know, Twitter famous dude, but he's like, I don't know, he seems kind of controlled too. Like all those giant accounts are just so sketchy. So then, so this year he had Ian Carroll show up, and Ian Carroll was on Joe Rogan. Like, these people get on Joe Rogan. If you can get on Joe Rogan, you're obviously doing something that they like you to do, or you say
Yeah.
stuff that they want you to say, or there's, you know what I'm saying? Like, Joe Rogan's the
Hmm.
biggest podcast, and I don't think anybody's getting on Joe Rogan. I mean, like, case in point, Ian Carroll gets on Joe Rogan, and like he got popular kind of talking about, trying to expose Epstein and talking about kind of mentioning Whitney Webb's work, where those books she wrote, One Nation Under Blackmail Part 1 and 2, where she has like the most extensive research, documented, outlined research about all the connections with Epstein and, and BlackRock and like all these techno bros and, uber rich people, billionaires and shit. Like she did all this work, and then who goes on Joe Rogan to talk about her book? Fucking Ian Carroll. And this guy, like, doesn't even represent her work very well. Like, she was even tweeting. She's like, if you, I'd be happy to come on and explain the work in my book, since I'm the one who wrote the books, and maybe I would be the best person to talk about it, right? But did she get an invite? No. No.
You know
They got
what's
this
incredible
fucking
is
Chester molester retard with his stupid, ugly mustache. I hate that guy's face.
it's funny when you start to watch like the big podcasts though, the tap dance. I mean, the elephant in the room is Fe, not even a question. And the tap dance they do around every single topic that approaches it, but you just can't say it. You just can't say those words. They'll get as close as possible to saying it, even so far as the saying, they're tiptoeing around NASA. I mean, I know Rogan is totally like he can't even talk about NASA being.
Oh
fake
no!
anymore,
Now, yeah, he does fucking shows wearing NASA uniforms and shit, like a fucking.
Yeah, so it's almost like he gets a quota every time he like wears something NASA. Like it's like, okay, can you wear it this? We'll give you 20% more on Tuesday. Can you wear this shirt? But it's like, but you watch these people who are flat that go on there, and their tap dance and their rhetoric is so complete. They'll make a facial expression that says what they really think, but they won't say it. They will not say the word. It's almost like that word is toxic.
Who's been on Joe Rogan who's a flat earther?
People who I suspect.
Oh, okay, but nobody who's like outwardly a flat earther.
Nobody who's out, but I suspect, and I can tell by the rhetoric because I've been watching it for long enough. You can see how they steer the way they talk about, it'll really be just kind of like a poo-pooing of NASA, but in a very soft way, not in a hardcore I'm going after NASA kind of, but in a soft way. And you can always tell, like, who was it recently? I can't remember the name, but basically the rhetoric goes like this. I'm not sure about the globe anymore, and then they'll kind of tap dance a little bit, and then they move along, or somebody will say something about NASA, and they'll make a face. And they say, or the big one is the big piece of rhetoric that I hear a lot of people do that I know just you got to know that they're already flat is they'll say something to the like I don't have a problem with flat earthers. I've looked at it. It's very interesting. And then tap dance onto a topic of less importance. And it's like you see a little bit more of it every day. It's almost like they're protecting their audience. They're protecting their subs.
They're
protecting
gatekeeping.
Their clout. Yeah.
And
they won't say it. Yeah. They won't say it, but they're saying it without saying it, which is, I know, that's some bullshit. If you ask me.
Definitely.
But they'll get dropped. They'll get dropped. The second they come out and just say full on. But if you get good enough at reading the rhetoric, you can kind of tell who's getting there, who isn't, and I personally, I think Joe Rogan knows everything about Fe, and he knows exactly what it is.
Well,
and
doesn't he know Eddie Bravo?
Yeah, it's kind of a similar circle over there, those guys, and Alex Jones knows it's flat. Everybody knows it's flat that's in that community. And they do a tap dance in their rhetoric around it.
They're gatekeepers.
And they poo-poo it. And then, but they know.
Yeah.
They know. And, yeah, so, I mean, do they get to keep their, once the celebrities start dropping the fact that they know it is too, then it's safe for them to start talking about it. And then, what they'll say, they'll be like, we were saying it the whole time. And I'll be like, fuck you were not. Dick.
Yeah.
Anyway, whatever. It's like we said what we were gonna say. Spent 10 years saying what we were gonna say. It's like what do we have left to say?
Yeah.
Just waiting for all these other people dragging their feet and making all the money, getting that scratch.
Make that money, boo.
Mm. The hummingbird's nice, actually. Comes down to visit every now and then.
Yeah, the hummingbirds are out, the fireflies are out. It's a cool time of year.
Yeah. I keep kind of wanting to see that black bear, but I kind of don't want to.
I don't want to. I didn't
No.
like that. I did not like having a
No.
bear in my yard at all. I'm just going to say. I did not like that at all.
Mm.
I hope it never comes back. No, thank you.
I kept my eye out for the squatch. No sightings on my visit this time. I did sit down on the tree bridge for like 40 minutes and just sat quietly over the creek, you know, just to see, just to look around and be quiet.
Well, you know, you don't find Bigfoot. Bigfoot finds you, so
Yeah, yeah, indeed.
you got to put yourself out there like bait.
Yeah.
All right. I believe Eddie Bravo is fairly genuine. Yeah. This place is hell. I don't think it's hell.
It's more like a meat grinder. We live in a meat grinder, and it's, yeah. That way you can appreciate the next step of your journey.
Race car track scene? Okay. At Confluence, Mark Gober gave an excellent talk on his new book, An End to the Upside Down Cosmos. That's cool. Like, there was good people. There were good, you know, people at that thing. I have to question, why would you have such an awesome lineup and then put that big Ian Carroll turd in there? Like, you know, maybe they're just doing it to try to get more people or to, you know, get more awareness, whatever, but I don't know.
Karen Valley says you have two screens on. Yeah, I can see two screens.
Yeah, I
You got
know.
a little lower screen.
I know, because I have to, so that Alex can hear me. Let's see. Because I have to be in the studio too. I can just edit myself out.
It doesn't look bad. I just that was in the chat. The screen, this camera's kind of doing a cool thing. It's like fuzzing out the background for me, so it's like a cinematic sort of effect. I didn't know it did that. It's kind of like a Barbara Walters effect, sort of, in reverse.
There. I just didn't edit myself out because I was too busy trying to do my face. All right, there we go. How's that? Now you can only see Alex.
I don't want to be the only one on there.
Well, I already
see
have
what
my
you're doing.
own camera, you know, in the
Yeah.
corner. So like if I crop the screen so it's just you from StreamYard, then we're good. Then I'm on there and you're on there.
Oh, gotcha. Okay.
There we go. Okay? Boom. There we go.
Musicians for truth. Yeah, people have severe fatigue of everything now. Yeah, I mean, there's always fatigue. There was fatigue in 2018. There was fatigue during the 2020 event, you know, where everybody just had talked about it so much. It was just like, I'm so sick of this. And then the fatigue from the stupid thing that happened in Antarctica this winter, that fatigue set in. So there's always cycles of that. But then, you know, you get somebody like what's her face that went to space allegedly a couple weeks ago, that just sparks up more laughter because it's just so stupid. And so like, every now and then we get a little nugget that we can sink our teeth into. But I mean, FE's not going away. So like, if you get fatigued with it, just take a break and don't feel like you have to scream from a mountaintop about it, because we already did. We did the work. We did the heavy lifting, and now just let it go, because I think there's a shit ton of people out there that have picked up on it, and they're starting to realize how censored it is. And usually that's how you're over the target, is when you're getting censored. And when people start to pick up on that part of it, then they realize kind of how big it is. So like, when you get the fatigue, I guess if you're getting the fatigue, just take a break. There's a whole bunch of other shit to talk about too. FE's not going away.
No.
Any stretch.
FE's not going away. It was always here.
Always here.
It was always here. That's why I thought it was so funny when Jaron decided to flip and become a retard, that he was like, the reason this should be the end of FE, like, he thinks he's gonna end it with his stupid bullshit. No, you're not, dude. It was here long before you, and it will be here long after you, because
it is what it is. It's just you're walking around in it. It's like you can't change what you're walking around in. It's so weird. I don't know. It's all for the subs, man. Everything for the subs, right?
Yep. Doesn't have to be that way. Yeah, it doesn't. Yeah, you don't have to be living in hell. Yeah, you gotta work on yourself and surround yourself with the right type of people, and figure out what is going on in your life that isn't serving you, that makes you feel like you're living in hell, and try to change that.
Indeed.
Ben Netanyahu's. Yeah. Off-roading, jam, and make videos. Yeah, exactly, Musicians for Truth. That sounds fun. And then we had a great, we had a in real life get-together Friday. That was so much fun. We had everybody over at my place, and we had a big fire, and it was awesome. We ate a bunch of food. Law came over and cooked a whole bunch of food. Let me see if I gotta upload these pictures.
Yeah, you can't stare at screens like all the time. You got to actually get some in real life sort of interaction. It doesn't have to be every week, but I kind of think you need to have something like once a month, just even if it's small, just to get your eyes off the computer screen and out into actual reality.
Yeah.
Because we went through enough of that bullshit from 20 to 22 where, other than your stuff, Karen, like there wasn't anything happening, and everybody got glued to the computer screens. And that was, I still remember that second plateau. Well, the first one that I went to, the entire place, no masks. And I was just like, this has got to be the most bizarre thing to most of the country right now, if they actually knew that it was going on. Because it was really just like this little bubble where a group of people completely didn't take the download. And it never set in for us. So like, we just had to sit around and be patient for everybody else to snap the fuck out of it. And that limited the amount of times you could get together with people. So like, you kind of have to make that effort, like if you know some people in the area, like once a month, just to go, even if it's at a bar or somewhere, just to, get some real interaction with people. We've been able to do that on this trip. We stopped and talked to a lot of people along the way, and, double checked and made sure who they were, and, because you can spend a lot of time online with people, and as we've noticed lately, the people that you thought they turned out not to be that way. So, you got to have some affirmation stuff, and that includes going out and seeing people.
You don't really know. I don't think you really know who somebody is until you meet them in real life. You
Mm.
know, I mean, I have a lot of friends that I was friends with online for years before I met them in real life, and most of them, for the most part, did turn out to be the people who I thought they were, right? But there's a few of them out there. Where it's like you meet them in real life, and you're like, "Whoa, dude, you're like even weirder than I thought you were."
Mm.
Like Arwen. Arwen is weird.
I like a little bit of weird. I have to have a little bit of weird in my life, as long as it's like the good kind of weird. It's like the good kind of crazy and the bad kind of crazy. The good kind of crazy is fun, and the bad kind of crazy is like, holy shit, I need distance immediately.
The believers fell apart, not the people who comprehend every. Exactly. Lucas says Antarctica didn't change anything for you. It didn't change anything for me either. That's what I was saying it before they even went. I'm like, there's nothing they're going to see there that is going to make me think that Earth is a globe. I don't care if they see the sun going around their heads there. That does not mean the Earth is a globe.
Mm-hmm.
The map is wrong. Now what? Right? Well, we probably aren't given the complete data for the layout of Earth. You know, like they could be gatekeeping data from the maps. You know.
Yeah, like if you could just omit a landmass. I mean, who's going to go out in the Pacific Ocean and check to make sure that landmass isn't there? I mean, there's so
Yeah.
many things by omission that could occur. I mean, I honestly think, that in cartography is where some of the biggest censorship happens, and like we think we know where we're at, and we can check it on the if you drive around the border of the United States, and generally it feels like it's that shape. You can't get enough altitude to look at it all as one piece, unless you can't even in a balloon. It's like you just can't get high enough to look at it all in one view, so you can infer. But nobody's like, you talk to most people, like they don't most the average person doesn't go further than 15 miles from their hometown, much less like travel the United States, or God forbid, travel overseas and see Europe. I haven't been to the Far East. I haven't, and I'd like to see what that looks like. But I mean, even then, you don't go traveling around the borders to make sure it's what it is. You just take their word for it that the border looks like that, and it works. The AE projection, I never abandoned that either. I was like, it's a working model. It works really well with flight paths. Works really well with until they took that radar map down, USGS, or was it USGS or the weather map, where if you look at it over an AE projection, it makes total sense. They're just rings. You look at it on a Mercator projection, which is the sphere projection on a flat. It has a jet stream going up and down, which is retarded. And so there's some things you can infer from maps, but there's who the hell knows who's been to the Southern Pacific, out in between Easter Island and say South America, to double check and make sure there's not a piece of land out there, or 1,000 little islands, or something. Nope, not the average person can do that,
Mm-hmm.
And shipping lanes are shipping lanes for a reason, because it's the most efficient way to get goods from one place to another. So like, you're not going to get some guy spend his own money to travel out into a patch of water that is 1,000 miles in any direction from a piece of land as we understand it, just to check and make sure there's not something else there. So like, they hide a ton of shit in cartography, and that's why so many people are obsessed with old maps, because the old maps, they weren't censoring in some cases, or they were drawing it up the way the navigators had experienced it, and there may be some more honesty in older maps. And then if you look at newer maps, especially guys that are in shipping, they really focus on regional maps because they want to make sure that their ships don't hit a damn rock.
Well,
Make sure they don't
nobody
go aground.
uses a complete world map for navigation. It's always going to be local to the area that they're in. So
Mm-hmm.
you're not looking at the whole world. You're only looking at the part of it that you're in. Shane St. Pierre says in order to hide land on modern world maps, they would have to hide the stars above those ground positions as well. Much harder in practice since the coordinate system is sky-based. That's a good point.
Yeah.
But they could also just leave stuff off the map. So they wouldn't have to change the positions
Yeah,
of
by
the stars
omission.
in relationship to the lands that we have access to. they could just leave the land off the map.
Yeah, omission.
Omission,
And
right?
yeah,
But it would have to be something, but I think that would be something that would occur more like out in the oceans where there's like vast amounts of water. Like you can't do it, in the north where there's people all the time going back and forth and stuff like that. Like it would have to be over a part that is not traveled so much, you know?
yeah. And on the tale of old maps, like when we were, I was in when I did that trip to the American Southwest, and then I went on to Mexico. There were a lot of old maps I was starting to notice because I didn't really notice old maps until FE came along, and I started my eyes started picking up on they're everywhere. If you look on walls, people use them as art. People use them as just it looks cool. It's an old map and it looks cool and it's weird. And I'm sitting there and I'm looking at this map from it was the 1800s and in this tavern in Tulum. And it's got one of those maps that shows that the ocean went all the way up through California and divided California into an island. And that wasn't that long ago. And the people that make maps, they tend to be at least useful for people that are shipping tchotchkes from one landmass to another. And they got to know where the water is. They got to know where they're traveling stuff to. And there was California was an island, and not even that long ago, at least according to that map. And that would make sense for Death Valley being the one
There
of the
could have been
lowest
more
places.
water, like, because there is a deep valley, and the valley is like, it's kind of known that it was flooded because that's why it's so fertile in the valley, because waters had washed in there, and like all these sediments and everything brings everything in there, and then like it kind of works that way. All the water runoff from the mountains goes into the valley.
Yeah. I mean, I was telling you last night, like anyone that hasn't done the American Southwest with new eyes, like if you went there when you were a kid, you just forget about that. You go now with new eyes and make sure you see the Grand Staircase and go up into the at least through Arizona and up into Utah. They give you a brand new fascination for, whatever happened out there. And then just me speculating, but like I feel like that event, the water event, you call it a flood, call it whatever happened in the American Southwest, it was treacherous, it was awful, and it happened fast. And I think, I don't know, it has something to do with the fact that ocean isn't there anymore, then California is now attached to dry land to that Grand Staircase, because it's all in one procession. I want to say down, but you call it out. And it carries a natural, where it was in, rockier soil, down to sandier soil where it washed out the Grand Canyon. They call it the Grand Staircase. So it's more acute and sharp what it did further into U-Haul. But as you go down to Arizona, you could see that it just got into some looser soil and washed out an enormous amount of land. And if you get a chance to go and do it again with new eyes, it is a fascinating thing to see. And I think, on the case of like cartography, we all ought to be on like a really big search for finding old maps, and even if like in your local library or local city hall or local anywhere, if you can find the oldest map you could find, I think we'd find a lot more stuff, a lot more secrets hidden in plain sight, because cartographers only just recorded what they saw. And unless they were told to omit something, they're going to show you something that is interesting. Like there was that one island that shows up on a lot of old projections that was in between. It was like Friesland or something. It was in between Iceland and the northeastern.
Yeah, there's a North Pole map
Can-
that has that island on it.
Yeah, and that's either underneath water or just maybe it's still there. But like you would think that somebody would be able to pick up on that, because a lot of people fish up in that region. But I don't know. I've never been there. I've shot up and over, northeastern Canada on the way to the UK, which is an interesting route. That means I'm going, they put that little ball in the back of your, on your television.
Yeah, that's how when I flew to Hungary, it was over ice. Like the whole time it was like ice water.
Yeah. And I like that they like to put the little TV on the back of the seats that shows you going in an arc over the ball. Of course, they want to do that. But no, you really, like when we took off, every time I went to Germany, JFK, and we'd do a little loop, and I could tell we were going up over Newfoundland because I had memorized kind of the shape of what I would see. and that's not what you would expect, on the Mercator. On the Mercator should have been over, a lot more ocean, but I could still see northwestern Canada for, a good portion of that trip. And most people don't look out airplane windows, unfortunately.
Herzart says, here in the middle of Europe, the peninsula Dars was taken out of the maps for East German citizens until 1990. That was to hide how close Denmark was, and nobody would try to escape. That's wild.
Yeah, I mean, think about how you could fool you. I mean, just through cartography, you could control people. Like, you drop a map. I mean, this is just stupid, but if you drop a map and then like on the map you put like what can be found in certain countries, well, you put a map in between one country and another, and in the middle there's a map full of dragons. There might be a population be like, we don't go there. There's dragons. And because people use maps to figure out where they're at. And I just think like maps and cartography hold the key to a lot of things that we don't understand about this place where we live. And man, I'd like to go into the Vatican map room. I'd like to get the keys to that place.
Yeah. Old maps shouldn't conform to the modern long lat system. All the old maps I have found thus far have been infrequently used projections of the same coordinate system. Makes me think they aren't so old. Well, truthfully, all the maps that we do find really aren't that old in the grand scheme of things. If you think about like the age of the entire Earth, it's like they're all like within like the last 500 years mostly. And then if you go to the ones, beyond that, they're like highly distorted. Like you can tell that they didn't have, the same abilities to map that they did later on. One world government would be most certainly be very oppressive. Well, yeah, because for the same reason that everybody doesn't, there's too many different people and different cultures. Like a government rule for one people is not going to be good for different people. You can't put everybody under the same set of rules or government because they have there's too many variables that kind of drive how you live your life, especially like geographically. Like living in different countries, different climates would even affect that. So why would they? Yeah, it's pretty crazy. The whole one world thing is not good. They want everybody to be the same. No culture, no cultural identity, no history. It's pretty sad, actually. It would be sad if that actually became a thing.
There's another interesting map thing. That somebody in chat, you can dive into this, as I'm just going to kind of just give it to you the way I caught it one day. It was like somebody had measured mileage across modern day Russia, like basically from eastern Russia all the way to the tip that's almost to Alaska. And then they compared that line to the size of Africa. And it turns out that this longer line in Russia, and correct me if it's the other way around, but it's just the longer line in Russia, that Africa is actually massively larger from a visual standpoint on a map. They should be massively larger than it's shown. Africa's shown is much smaller, but has more mileage when you at least use the mileage tool in maps. There's some distortion there. In other words, you've got this presentation of Russia being this long ass piece of land, but widthwise Africa turns out to be more mileage. And I might have that flipped, so chat if I have it flipped, sorry, but it's one of those things where like distortion in maps can screw you up. And again, when even you're there's only approved flight paths. These flight paths, the FAA and other countries, they design these flight paths to go, in the most efficient ways, obviously for fuel, but also, they don't fly in certain areas, just period, because A, it's not efficient fuel-wise, so that makes total sense. But B, maybe there's something you're not supposed to know in certain areas, and they just like, that's a no-fly zone. I mean, have you ever thought about no-fly zones? oh, we can't go there, it's a no-fly zone. And I'm like, okay, well, that's government related. Well, yeah, maybe it's government related, or maybe it's a no-fly zone because there's something that you might see on the ground that you're not supposed to see. And most of people that international travelers like, I traveled everywhere, man. I've seen it all. No, you've only seen the flight path that takes you to Paris, and then the flight path that takes you to Moscow, and then the flight path that takes you to Tokyo, and they're kind of the same ones. And there's, a million other possible flight paths that could be taken in the airspace above the land. So even like these world travelers that pretend like they're so Cosmo and like all this stuff, and it's like, dude, I mean, you've seen a lot of cities, but you can drive through the American Northwest through all those highway systems, but there's, 99% of the Northwest is forest, which you haven't seen. And unless you walk through that forest, you're not going to know what's in there. And it's the same with flying over continents. Like you go down one pathway, just like a highway, and, you don't see 99% of everything below you. And just like, in the Northwest, you don't know what's in the forest because you don't get off the highway. Maybe you go into the gas station to get, a drink along the way, and maybe you take a little hiking trail that takes you 1 mile in, and maybe you're a guy that lives up there and you have done 50% more of the land hiking than the average hiker, but there's still a ton of land that just hasn't ever even had eyes laid on it. And that's the fascinating stuff about cartography for me, is like, we infer what's going on, but nobody knows all of what's out there. And it's kind of exciting, actually, to think about it that way. Not that I'm ever gonna have the money to get on a boat and say, just throw a dart in a certain direction and be like, okay, we're gonna go that way.
Oh, I know.
And just see what's out there.
I don't even know that I would, even if I did have the money, to be honest with you. I have no desire to go where it is like hostile, cold, icy, where the environment's trying to kill you. I just don't want to go there. I'm over that.
And like you watch those, you do the deep dives on some of these parts of the ocean. It's like, no thanks. I mean, even these giant shipping containers are getting tossed around like, toy boats.
Oh, yeah.
And you're just like, no, I don't think so. I can just not ever see that and be just fine.
That's about where I'm at. I'm okay. Somebody else can go.
Mm-hmm.
Speaking of maps and stuff, somebody, and I'm probably going to regret bringing this up, but somebody left a comment on one of my streams, on one of my platforms, I forget which one, that said that Jake the asshole has a Earth model, a flat Earth model, that the 24-hour sun works in his flat Earth model. Have you seen it?
I have not. I kind of stopped watching that guy.
I know, I don't watch him either because he's an asshole, and I just don't like him.
he lives up to his name, and I guess if he's branding himself as that, he's doing a real good job. But I've seen a couple of alternative ideas of actually Crumb had a hilarious one. He's like, there's like this iceberg that spins, that did a totally 24-hour spin. He was just totally like floating this idea as kind of half comedy and half like, hey, something to think about. It's like a piece of ice in the south that's so big you can't see the edges, that it did a full rotation. This allegedly, according to people who study icebergs. And he said that could give you the rotation of the sun if you were on that piece of ice, because you're literally spinning in the water, in the ocean. But I mean, that'd be a pretty fast spinning piece of ice. But it was funny. Now, like the rest of these models that people are coming up with, I mean, I always applaud somebody to try to make a model. But I think it's pretty tall order. I'm sorry I interrupted you. You were going to say something about it?
No, it wasn't.
The Jake the Asshole model.
I don't know. I was just curious if anybody saw it, because I was like, oh, really? He thinks he's got a model that works with the 24-hour sun? I've got it. I'm curious, because he's not the smartest guy. So it makes me wonder, like, what kind of dumb shit is actually what I really am wondering. I'm like, what kind of dumb shit is this guy saying?
Yeah, I still go back to that same piece of writing that I think I shared it with you, Karen. It was before the final excrement in the South. we had told, it was like, look, these are the two famous, at least in one of them with Albert Smith and Lady Blount, and they told you in before they even started the paper, they were like, look, we've got an observation from sailors down there where they're playing cards at midnight, but it didn't change in any of their other observations about flat water, flat land, and all this stuff, and they were able to reconcile that there's a phenomenon with the sun that we don't understand down there, and we were screaming that 2 months before they went out there, and nobody wanted to look at it. And I was like, these are like some pretty famous people, in the Zetetic community that reconciled the fact that there is something going on with the sun out there that we can't work out, but it has nothing to do with spherosity. It had nothing to do with it, and nobody wanted to touch that. They just wanted to go barrel forward, and 24-hour sun means globe, which is retarded. But I mean, if you go back and read those things, they're pretty clear on it, and it's pretty succinct writing too. It's like the paper, what was it called? I don't know. You guys can look it up, but within 40 pages, they were very clear on this is how it looks like it works, and there's also activity in certain regions that we don't understand. And they really just didn't care. They were like, that's the sky, and we'll leave that up to, other people to figure out in the future. And then they were so simple and succinct about it that that was honesty and reporting, as far as I can tell.
Mm.
Do you remember which one paper that was I sent you? That was it was just the famous Lady Blount, Albert Smith. It's like 1903.
No.
Nobody wanted to hear that, though. I mean, it might have been Zetetic. It wasn't Robotham. Just look up Lady Blount, Albert Smith, and you'll find the paper. It's out there. But nobody wanted to hear that. Nobody wanted to even consider what they had written about. And they talked about the guys that went out there and basically the one thing that they had witnessed is like, yeah, some of the guys were playing cards by sunlight at midnight. Would have been either Eastern time or the 2 hours ahead of Eastern time where they landed. They have all that written in there. They have all the the coordinates and everything else as they understood it. Fascinating stuff, anyway.
Well, I found his video, but I'll have to look at it later. I'm not gonna deal with that right now. Flatty flat flat. Not smart and a bit of an asshole. Is Jake the asshole, that fellow that wears that stupid hat? Yes, Jana, that's exactly who he is. I don't think there's any model that can make it work, but the way water behaves on Earth seems to indicate it's flat, so it's a conundrum. Adam, exactly. It is kind of a conundrum. And that's like that quote, I don't know if that's what you're trying to bring up with like Lady Blount and that essay or whatever, but in there, that's why when there was that whole panel on Kingdom in Context channel, and I read that quote because it talks about how they're like, look, just in the same way that we wish that globalists would be honest that there is no measurable curvature, like you cannot measure curvature on Earth, you can't measure motion, we need, geocentrists or people to be honest about there is this weird phenomena where the sun is circumpolar in the north, and then if you go, far south it becomes circumpolar again, which kind of, is a little bit of a conundrum. Everybody's like, how does that work if the Earth is flat? But that's because you people are assuming that there is one sun and that it is a physical object and that it can only be in one place at the same time. But the fact of the matter is that nobody knows how the sky works. Nobody knows the phenomena behind the lights in the sky, like what drives them, how do they work, how do we see them, what makes them visible to us in different locations. Nobody knows the answers to these questions. They gave you an answer because based on like what we see, and they just, to make this all work, the Earth has to be a ball. But the Earth isn't a ball. It's just fucking not. So, yes, it is a conundrum. It is kind of a conundrum. Although what's really cool, because for so long, and I was saying this because it's true, like if you just make sky observations and you try to make that work on the flat earth model with the knowledge, the very, very little knowledge that we have about these lights in the sky, then, you know, your observations are going to match globe because they tell you that you get these observations because we live on a globe, but we don't. So it's kind of like if you spend all your time looking up in the sky, you can kind of, you know, get lost in that. But, you know, if you look at Earth, if you look at the Earth itself and how the Earth presents itself and how technology works, like how flight works, any of that stuff, like it's all assuming a flat, non-rotating Earth. And if there was a physical movement of the Earth through space, you would think that other physical movements would have to compensate for that, or, you know what I'm saying, or be affected by the movement of the Earth itself. But it's like the inertial the frame, right? It's like that's it. Earth is the base inertial frame. It's not going anywhere relative to us. Like we're all here with it. You know.
Mm-hmm.
Open the phone. Yes, the sky is spiritual and the land is physical. Let's not get the two confused. Exactly. That's what I feel like. It's like we live in a very magical place where the physical meets the the metaphysical, right? So all of that, you know, the unseen forces, the lights in the sky, all those things that we can't like go physically touch, that's the metaphysical. And then here on the surface is the physical with all the where all the bumping particles are.
Mm-hmm.
You know.
Yeah, and I think like
Cami disagrees with Adam. Strongly disagree. Not using the optics that occur in nature when addressing the skies. But see, people don't know about that stuff, Cami. So it is a conundrum. For most people, it is. As the occultist put it, the square is a right angle formed by two right lines. Adapted only a plane surface and belongs only to geometry, earth measurement, that trigonometry, which deals with only with planes and with the earth, which the ancients supposed to be a plane. Morals and dogma. Stars have been circling around the firmament the same for hundreds of years. Didn't they use them a long time to travel the seas? Yes.
You know, and if you think about it, like, you know, getting your arms around kinematic equivalence is like really, really important because, like, if you wanted to fuck with somebody's head, and they're, you know, for the generations, people saw the sky moving above them. If you really wanted to fuck with them at a very subconscious level and get them off kilter so that you could swerve them and control them, you would invert that. And you would say, no, what you're seeing is not true. The earth is moving. And if you can get them at that most basic intuitive level, you can get them to do anything. I mean, that's the deception of what it is. It's like, and like kinematic equivalence, it sounds like a big word. It's not. It's easily describable as a couple systems working together. But basically, if you're on a dock, you have that feeling where you feel like you're moving, but it's actually the boat backing up. Or if you're in traffic and you have your foot on the brake, but then somebody like hits reverse by you and you freak out because you think it's you that's moving.
Yeah.
That's a sort of a form of kinematic equivalence where like basically what they did is they took the very thing that you observe that makes sense to you is like the sun's moving, and they inverted it.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the basis of the whole fucking thing.
Mm-hmm.
And they inverted it from top to bottom to fit the inverted model. And if you keep it simple, like we were talking yesterday, Karen, if you stick to the FE simple things, which is no measurable curvature, gas pressure without a container, these sort of things, and these other, you know, more complicated topics don't even really need to be addressed. You know, they just, you're just going to go down a rabbit hole with, you know, some glober who's, he knows his globe, you know, most of the time they don't really know their globe that well, but the simple things are the easiest things to describe, and you really don't have to get too complicated with it, in my humble opinion.
very sad because the properties are real and they're ignored. Well, they just don't teach people a lot of it. It's like they leave all that really cool information out for the most part, or they compartmentalize it so that you can't put the pieces together. You know, it's actually diabolically evil and clever the way that they have everybody programmed through their indoctrination.
You got to give them credit. I mean, they did a stand-up job. I mean, it's falling apart now. You know, it's showing cracks, I should say. But these, you know, the people that put together this program, they did it over the course of generations. And so as much as it pisses us off, it's probably going to take generations to undo that, just at the rate of you know, aggregate human thought. You know, the cracks are showing now, and the cracks will get bigger and bigger. It'd be nice in our lifetime to see, you know, to see the mainstream understand it the way we understand it now. I always, you know, keep that hope up.
Yeah.
But, you know, at the same time, we did the work, you know, and like all of you that are out there fatigued, like I saw that earlier, it was like, we did the heavy lifting, and now let's see what happens. So we've set the waves in motion, and now it's just up to like everybody else to pick up on it and run with it, and don't let it drive you mad, you know?
Yes. Okay, well, I opened my phone lines. 704-666-1776. Aggregate. Yeah, that's Lowry's favorite word.
Well, Tony was asking me that the other day, and why it's useful, like in basically the scientific method in taking measurements, is that you can find an acceptable deviation over the course of, we were talking about moonlight versus moonshade, and but you're forming it into a bundle, and the bigger that bundle becomes of a consistent sort of, say, between the temperature of moonlight and moonshade, whether it's warmer or colder, doesn't matter. The bigger bundle of samples you can get on both sides, the more of an acceptable deviation between each individual one you can get, in order to come to an overall conclusion that either moonlight is colder than moonshade, or moonlight is warmer than moonshade, which is kind of a really important thing to infer, you know, when it comes to whether or not the moon is reflecting sunlight. And another thing about that too is that one I didn't even think of, and I don't know who brought it up, but I was talking about it. Solar panels, they have sensors on solar panels that pick up photoelectricity, and when you point it towards the sun, it will have a reading. And again, this is another seed for the chat, planting this seed, because I have not tested this myself. But you point a solar panel at the moon, you should still get a reading, because that's reflected sunlight, right? As we're told by the heliocentric model. They're not getting any, as far as I understand it, they're not getting any photoelectric reading at all from solar panels when pointed at the moon. So if anybody has that ability to point a solar panel at a full moon, let me know if you get a reading.
Actually, because, I thought Ben was telling me that he got a reading off his solar during a full moon sometimes. Ben, if you're in chat or if you show up, please correct me if I'm wrong. But I thought he said that it wasn't very much, but it did pick up something, if I remember right.
Yeah,
I don't remember.
And that's I guess it reads photoelectricity. Is what it reads. So it'd have to be exclusive to, like, right at the moon, and there's nothing else that could possibly be generating photoelectricity that could be picked up by the sensor. I don't know. That would be a good test, especially the more sensitive the reader is on those, because I've never had solar panels, so I'm just putting that out there. But yeah, Tony, in aggregate, you just, the more samples you get, and if they all fall into one category, no matter if there's differences in the readings, if they're still, all together in one bundle, colder or warmer in the moonshade, vice versa, you can get closer to your solution. You never get the exact solution. So if you had 50 samples in moonlight, 50 samples in moonshade of all different substances, soil, rubber, wood, you know, pick your poison on that. You know, the more you get, the closer you get to your solution. And that's all I mean by aggregate. It's just a bundle, bundling everything together and inferring something from the bundle.
Yeah, and then there's another thing too with like that moonlight temperature stuff. There's this guy Harmon Walker who did the test, and he said there's no difference, and he recorded it all on videos on his channel. But then other times I've seen people do it, and then they do get a different reading. I've done it and got a different reading, so...
I think there's a lot of factors. I think there's factors that we're not quite considering yet. We're so simple in how we think about it. We're like, well, we first got to find a tree, got to make sure it's a full moon, we got to make sure it's no clouds. And then at that point in time, then you got to make sure that all of the, if you were just to do a temperature surface reading, you have to make sure all of your surfaces, whatever they were in the same box, the same temperature, and you have to put them out right at the same time, and you got to get those things within like a 5-minute window. You have to get readings on as many samples as you had, both in moonlight and moonshade, because all the environment is affecting that as you set out your sample surfaces, right? So they all have to be the same temperature. Get them down, boom, 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 and within like a minute, because then you have all these other things coming into play. You got heat from the ground, you got heat from trees. The most intriguing one I saw was the forward-looking infrared guy who was not a flat earther, but he's like, people have been asking for years, hey, can you do a forward-looking infrared and record it, moonlight and moonshade? And it all came out as moonlight being colder than moonshade. And he was testing it across the yard through the trees. You could see that the car's wheels on the driveway were hot. But all the places that were should have been warmer were several degrees colder. So that was a nice one, at least a visual one. And it's out there. You can find it on YouTube, just forward-looking infrared, moonlight versus moonshade. Is that a very good proof? No. But you have also did try to do this test. We were going to do one on the 12th, and of course it was overcast. So that, you know, you got one chance a month, and hopefully you get clear sky. And then if you've got it set up, you got to be fast. You got to get your stuff out there, and you got to document everything you did, document all the surfaces, make sure they were all in the same box, and then, you know, let everybody tear it apart after that.
The moon absorbs sunlight, not reflect it. Well, it doesn't reflect it, but it glows in the dark. And even NASA admits that the moon is photoluminescent. I found an article years ago that talked about how the NASA says the moon is basically, it glows in the dark. It's a glow-in-the-dark rock. Which is, works with what we know here in this realm, that it makes sense that it would be a mineral that is photoluminescent, which basically reacts to the UV light and glows.
Yeah, and it's funny is that at the alleged 237,000 miles, I mean, inverse square law, you would be blind if you traveled to it. Even by halfway, you would be blind. It would just, and if it really is producing a cold light, you'd freeze to death, which actually works in the heliocentric model too, the cold vacuum of space. But now you'd be blind, like maybe not even halfway to the moon, you'd be blind. You wouldn't be able to see anything. So it's like, it kind of knocks the distance. You know, what did they say a few years ago? Like there was one article that came out that said, now the moon is inside the Earth's atmosphere.
Yeah, they're saying it's in Earth's atmosphere. Mm-hmm.
Hi.
Kitten cam. Did you see that? The camera in your pad adjusts to you. Look at this. Isn't that cool?
Oh, wow.
You were up here, and it moved the camera out. Here,
Oh,
watch
that's
this.
neat.
This is cool.
Oh.
Check this out. So like now, it knows where I'm at.
Neat.
I don't know how exactly that worked, but that was cool.
Oh, did it move or did it just focus on her?
Well, it did when she came in. Like if I go down here, I'll like see it moving around. That's pretty rad.
Why do you look so giant?
Look at that, it's moving with me. I didn't know it did that. That's fun. Yeah. But anyway, we have to get on the road towards our next destination. And it's been lovely, Karen.
Wait, I gotta show Karen.
You want to do kitten cam?
No, I'm gonna come upstairs.
All right.
I'm gonna come up. I was gonna call you and ask you if I could come upstairs to show you the tarot cards.
Yeah, you can. Just shut the door behind you.
It's gonna crash with the kittens.
Show everybody that cat's crazy eye.
Oh, okay. So poor baby Roy has a zombie eye. So his name's Kilroy, and eventually we're gonna get him a patch, and he's gonna be One-Eyed Killy, because we need to have a pirate kitten if we're gonna be in the Outer Banks.
Oh.
He's so cute. Are you sweet, kitten?
Adam says, I feel that once you know we are divinely created, then the shape of the earth doesn't matter as much anymore. I'm now more interested in our purpose here and what happens after we leave. Yeah, true that.
I think the shape of the earth is a cat's eye, actually. We live in a cat eye.
A cat eye?
Yeah.
Hopefully not a zombie cat eye.
That would be a bad universe to... What's the matter? Why, are you cranky?
Remember Nico said something about the moon and the sun and the photography have the same something. Probably the same focal length. Like if I use my P900 on the moon setting and I put a solar filter on it, the sun is in focus, everything's in focus. It's all the same.
Yeah, it's the same color temperature, is what I said. So the same equal parts RGB equals pure white light. So on the subtractive scientific color wheel, you add cyan, magenta, or yellow in order to get the colors, which are actually reflections that are bouncing off everything and changes by the prism of the sun. But the moon also is pure white light. So take the same picture, say at 2 p.m. or at 2 a.m., it's a photo that's in the moonlight with a long exposure is going to end up being like the negative to the sun's positive. So like as film. We did that as an experiment.
Vincent Loonman Flat Farmer says, my solar panels will show microvolts on a full moon, just enough to light one LED, not 18 volts open circuit, just nearly enough to light one small LED. So it does pick up light from the moon, it's not very much. Not enough to really do anything with.
So it picks up light from the moon. So if the sun was 100% to a solar panel, like how much would the moon be? Would it be like a quarter of it or an eighth of it? Like what?
I don't even know if it's that much.
What if it? I guess solar panels really wouldn't work in a place like Alaska, where it's dark for a really long time.
Probably not so great. Mandela Effect
NDB,
Destroys
#1 fan.
Christianity says, what is the reason to live since everything and everyone is a lie? Well...
live for the truth then.
Yeah, not everything is a lie. There's no lie in nature, I'll tell you that. Go out in nature. Nature will not lie to you. If you just observe... If you just observe in nature, you'll see nothing but just straight up truth. Brutal truth from nature. The only thing that lies really are other shitty humans. So
NPCs.
Stop listening to
Corporate
lying.
America.
Stop listening to lying shitty humans and use your brain and think for yourself and make up your own mind about stuff. And there you go.
You sleepy.
Jules Verne, around the world in 80 days in a balloon, and I don't get the impression they were going around a globe, but surface continents showing their flying prowess and ability to catch air currents. Yeah.
Where's my flying car?
Where's your flying car?
I still want my flying... Where's my flying car? They
There's
said
a
that
P1100 out now, yeah.
P1100?
P1100. Yeah, the Nikon put out, because they discontinued the P1000, but then they made a new version. They made a different, what was it?
P1 million.
I don't know if they have a P. They're still selling them, but I know they discontinued them.
I had a Canon 20D in the U-Haul, and I'm so pissed because it was the first edition Canon 20D, just kind of like the first digital camera model, where you know how you have the magnification on the lens now, where the camera, the sensor is smaller.
Mm-hmm.
So it has a 35 millimeter sensor. So the sensor on the 20D has the full frame sensor. So it's basically like a digital film camera, and there's no distortion in it. It was awesome. I don't even know where I could get another one of those. Probably Facebook Marketplace. I had my 4x5 in there.
So looks like the 1100 it's got a 125x optical zoom, which is the same as the P1000. So what's the difference? Wi-Fi and Bluetooth in it now?
I don't know.
It literally looks the same.
Oh, he's such a sweet boy.
Oh, it has a remote.
That's cool.
So they just added some features to it. Purpose over place, it's unknowable. Yeah. You know what? Mandela effect person, if you're not going to be positive, just go away. Just, nobody needs you here.
Yeah.
If you're just going to come here and like shit talk. Why? What's the point?
I guess. I don't know. Yeah. You must have Mandela it out of like a positive reality or something. Find the silver lining. Where did he go? Okay, I am going to run to the car and grab.
NDB made it through the storm okay? Dude, I heard that tornado was gnarly.
NDB, how are the kittens? Are the kittens okay? NDB, #1 fan.
Tornado spawning storms leave 25 dead in 2 states and swaths of destruction across central U.S. Wow.
How often do we have a swath of tornadoes like that? I feel like that like doesn't happen. Alex grew up in Kansas. I was like, did you ever have like 38 tornadoes in one day? It's just bizarre. Oh. Okay.
Wow.
I think there should be.
London, Kentucky. That's right. That's where it was hit. London, Kentucky. Oh my god, that place got destroyed.
That's like close to where we got our. That's like close to where we got our Jeep.
Really?
Yeah. And we still haven't gotten our tags.
Wow. Oh my gosh.
That's just terrifying, and it happens in the middle of the night while people are sleeping. Can you imagine to be like, Dorothy, like, sleeping in your bed and all of a sudden you're just like whipped up in the air. Like that would be the worst death ever.
Yeah, that would be horrid.
Oh gosh,
A
can you
nightmare.
imagine? Oh, it's like my cousin. There was a tornado that ripped through where I grew up, and not far. It was like a mile away from where we were. But her friend lived in one of the trailer parks, and they were at her trailer, and the tornado ripped the whole entire roof off of the trailer park. It was like the most terrifying thing ever. She was like freaked out for pretty much the rest of her life.
I mean, it just looks like it shreds everything. It just shreds everything. It looks like all the houses got put through shredders.
Yeah, it doesn't look normal. Don't let the flies in.
Wow.
Yeah, it's actually absolutely disgusting.
A violent tornado-spawning storm system across the central U.S., leaving 25 dead in Missouri and southeastern Kentucky as it cut a path of destruction through several states. Oh, boy.
That's a baby. That's a baby. That's a baby.
Is that Aggie out there?
Yeah.
You can put her in the house if she won't leave the cats
she's
alone.
fine. She was like looking at me. She was like, look at the baby. Roy is just like giving her a zombie side eye. Roy's with the zombie side eye. Like,
Why is she growling?
Sasquatch probably. Definitely Sasquatch.
Wow, you guys. Well, I'm glad that didn't hit you, NDB. Holy crap.
Yeah, that's scary.
Oh, dude, there's like a plane. Oh, it shredded up an airport. Oh my gosh.
An airport?
Yeah, like a little local airport.
Did you see there was like a helicopter crash too, I saw? Wasn't there?
Another one?
I thought I saw one in Kentucky. It was like a med helicopter that crashed, which is sad. But why was a helicopter flying through a tornado?
I didn't hear anything about this.
Oh, I think we have a child home.
What?
Alex just introduced himself to somebody. He has curly hair.
Oh, it's my
Your son or
son.
your daughter.
My son. Yes, it's my son.
Yeah.
He's out of school and he's coming home.
He's out of school?
Yeah, he's out of school and he told me he was going to be coming. Yeah, it's okay. It's just my boy.
Oh, it's a half day?
No, he's done with school. He's just coming home from his dad's.
For the summer, he's done with school?
Yes.
Already?
Yes.
In May?
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah, and then it's weird because their school starts earlier, and then like the rest of it's because he goes to an early college. It's like a college/high school thing, and he actually goes to high school at a college.
Well, that's cool.
So he has a different schedule than the regular high schoolers.
That's cool. What's he going to college for?
Well, it's high school. It's high school, but he goes to high school at a college, so he can also get, like when he graduates, he'll graduate with an AA.
Oh.
Like high school degree
cool.
and an AA, allegedly.
That's awesome.
Something like that.
Allegedly
It is pretty cool if it if it works out the way they say it does, yeah.
Allegedly associate.
Hello, Rose.
Hi, Rose. Oh, the baby. Oh, the baby. Oh, she's so cute.
It stayed on the ground from Somerset to past London, past I-75. How long is that? That sounds like a long. Is that a long ways? I don't know how long that is. Hit the London airport.
Somerset is where we got the car from. We got the Jeep from.
Air evac was at the London airport when it hit. Oh.
That's so sad. So it hit the airport in London. It's not a very big airport.
Today's the 19th, NDB.
It's so peaceful out here. There's this creek. It's a magical creek that sort of like winds its way through Karen's property. It is It's like you could sit on a rock and it's just like this bubbling brook that just kind of like floats down. It is like if you want to be mindful, go take a walk in the woods. It is beautiful, literally, absolutely stunning. I love it.
Yeah, it's cool. It's a good place to get all that, to get stuff out, to give stress back to the world.
Yeah, and the trees, they're just like, they're all connected underneath in the roots. They're all talking. They're hanging out. They like things. I saw a fairy yesterday. It was pretty cool. It was probably a hummingbird maybe, but I swear it was a fairy. It like just disappeared into the water. It's so weird. But it's magical forest land, and it feels like you're in like Narnia or the Secret Garden. It's beautiful.
Here's our group picture.
Oh, I see. Before Esther fell out of my hands and
I don't know.
bounced down.
There's my other bench. I don't know if I can. How can I show you two? I have to share screen in here or something. I can't show you the way I have this set up. You would have to be looking at the live stream, or I'll just send them to you later.
I'll look at the live stream.
Oh yeah, she'll come back again. She's gonna be here for a while yet, Ted. Hey, Dave Hinkle.
Hi, Ted.
The storms were quite wicked last night here in the very northeast Oklahoma. The winds were intense and the amount of rain was something I've never seen here. Oh, wow. Yeah.
Did you see what happened in Paris like last week? It hailed and there was just like several inches of hail on the streets of Paris.
Paris, where?
France.
No.
Yeah.
It was hailing here last week too.
Where? Was it really?
Yeah. It was
Weird.
hailing. Before you guys got here. There was a storm and then we got a bunch of hail.
Storms are weird. Hi, Billy. Hi, Josh.
Yeah.
Hi, Liz.
And then I was also showing the food that Dr. Law made. Basil fried rice.
So good.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're spoiled. Ted got to take the rest of the pad thai to lunch today, but we had a little bit of fried rice.
Yeah. Yeah, we had fun. That was cool. That was really, I had fun Friday. I don't know about you guys.
Cute. Did anybody capture it when I dropped the cat?
Speaking of hailing, where's Ben Balderson? That's funny. What about dropping the cat?
I dropped the cat when we were taking the group picture. She like jumped out of my hands and bounced on the cement, or bounced on the rocks. I know. I was like, she like bounced and then bounced under. She's fine. I swear they're like rubber.
26 more trees down in my hay fields. If I can get all cut up, I'll have 3 years of firewood. Oh, wow.
They got knocked out, the trees, or they just fell down naturally?
I guess so. I don't know. And I was looking at the updates too about that Mexican Navy ship. Apparently 2 people died. And one of them was like this young girl. She was a cadet.
That's just bizarre. I've never seen anything like that in all my years in Brooklyn. In all my years of like taking the East River Ferry, there has never been a gigantic... How did they get that thing up to Manhattan? How? Did they sail it? Did they go around the Atlantic Ocean? Did they go up the Mississippi River and through the Great Lakes? Like, I don't even understand. how that would even get there.
I mean, they
And
could have just went up the
I-
coast. I mean, why
They
couldn't they have
could've.
just gone up the coast? Like out of the Gulf,
mean,
up the coast.
It's just bizarre that they didn't think like, oh, this is too tall to go under the bridge. Like, it doesn't make any sense to me.
I'm gonna see if
No
they
sense
say
whatsoever.
anything about why they think it happened. Its 147-foot masts were too tall to clear the arched bridge at that point and toppled when the vessel named after the last Aztec emperor sailed underneath. The Mexican Navy said on social media late Saturday, 22 people were injured on board the ship, of which 19 are receiving medical attention in local hospitals, and of those 3 were seriously injured. No diving rescue operations needed. Cadets dressed in white uniforms could be seen dangling from the ship's crossbeams. Yeah, we saw that. A female cadet and a male Marine died from their injuries. Mexican President Claudia Sheinbaum told reporters on Sunday 2 of the injured remain in critical condition as of Sunday afternoon, says the New York Police Department.
Weird.
And they're investigating the cause of the crash and that injured cadets were doing better. Yeah, it doesn't, yeah, they don't, I guess they're not saying why it happened yet. That,
Something off of that. Something's a little off of that. Just a little off.
was built at Solea shipyards in Bilbao, Spain in 1981. That was not even that old of a ship. So it was built in Spain.
But it's Mexican?
The Mexican ship was built in Spain, yes.
So it's like a gringo ship?
I mean, I
Wouldn't
guess.
it be a gringo? Or is that just Polish people who moved to South America? Gringos.
Or white people that, you mean any white person that moves to Mexico? Yeah, that's a gringo.
Did not. I love Mexico.
Incident is under investigation, so they haven't released what happened, why it crashed yet.
And then we'll never know.
Oh, they might figure it out. They'll figure it out, and then they'll tell everybody why. This one says Mexican ship headed the wrong way before fatal Brooklyn Bridge crash.
Really?
What caused the crash? Cause of collision is under investigation. Lost power. It says New York City mayor said the ship lost power just before crashing into the bridge. That's it. Lost power. Little over a year after the Dolly, the 980-foot-long cargo ship lost power while departing Biltmore's Harbor and smashed into the Key Bridge, killing 6 people and destroying critical infrastructure.
Isn't that a little odd that there's just like, I mean, how do they lose power? Don't they have generators? Don't they have backup people? Like, don't they have, why don't
yeah,
they
do,
rowers?
but
Like, do they have
shit
oars?
happens. Like, things break, you know, it's like, you know.
But don't they have oars? Like, why wouldn't they just have an
oar?
Or
on a big ship like that? No, they're gonna have oars on the
really
ship.
Big oars. Well, they'd have to be really big oars.
No, they don't have oars.
I mean, I feel like that should be, you know, did they have safety why didn't they have life vests on?
Well, they didn't have life vests on, but they did. I saw the people had harnesses on that were up on the masts. I don't know. I just don't understand why they had all those people up on the mast. Like, it was just a weird display. You know, that
weird
is what is weird to me. I'm like, why were all these people standing on the mast of the ship?
I mean, they kind of look. We were like last night. We were like, it looks like Cirque du Soleil, and it also reminds me of those. I don't know if anybody's been to Tulum, but the Mayans always do like that. They stand on each other and make the human like thing, and they do like dances and stuff at the top, and they play those little flutes. It's probably it's like a ritual, but I don't know what it's called.
Okay, hold on one sec. I have to answer a call. Yeah, no, she's okay. My daughter just wants, okay, it's the end of the school year and they've done their end of grade test and like, she's like, I could just do this work at home. Can I come home? She wants me to go get her.
See, I wish my mom would do that. I had to just forge my mom's signature to get out of school, and then I was voted biggest skipper for my senior mock elections, and I skipped the senior picture. So in the yearbook,
Oh, dude, I
no
did that in
pictures.
high school. I started forging notes to get myself out of school, and then like I got busted, and they kept all the notes, and like, then I was like in this meeting with like this principal and my mom, and there's like all these letters that I forged. I was in deep shit. I got in deep shit, man. But yeah,
I got in trouble for that too.
I was horrible.
I would skip lunch all the time, and I would be in my cheerleading uniform too. So it's like, obviously, as somebody in high school is not in high school where they're supposed to be. I would always run into my principal and vice principal either at McDonald's or Wendy's or whatever, and they'd be like, Nicole, go sign in when you get there. Just go sign in. I'm like, do I have to? Come on. I'm like, you don't have to tell anybody. Just please don't tell my mom. They're like, oh. Mrs. Markham, she's such a bitch, though. My God. I flicked her off, just like Kid Rock did. We both flicked off the same principal because we had the same principal.
How does it lose power, but it's moving towards the bridge? Well, if it's already moving and then it loses power, well, then it keeps drifting, right? Don't forget the car boom in Palm Springs. There was a car bomb in Palm Springs?
Oh, yeah, at the fertility clinic.
Oh, that's right. Oh, we were looking at that too, weren't we?
Yeah.
The fertility clinic.
Suspect too. At a fertility clinic. Like, whose seed are they killing there? Like, who goes to that fertility clinic? What a weird place to blow up. Like, you would think that they would...
Is somebody having suicidal thoughts? Do you think there's a reason to live in this deceptive, demonic hell realm? Yeah.
Yes.
Yes. In other words, like, I'm not ready to die yet. So, yeah. I have, friends, family. These are all good reasons to stay alive.
Kittens?
Does your daughter tell her teachers the earth is flat? No, she doesn't. I told my children, look. Oh, and we lost Nico. But I told my children that... Here, I'm just going to take that away until they get back. I told my children all the stuff about, I told them everything, right? I told them both sides. I told them the flat earth and the globe earth, both. I did not gatekeep any information from my children. Even when I was homeschooling, I taught them everything, right? I didn't hold any of that information back. I also told them, don't talk about it in school. Don't talk about it. Because I didn't want them to get themselves in trouble and get themselves into these conversations that they weren't capable of handling, And they did. And they're very smart. They know all the my son says, he likes to troll me and he says Earth's a globe, whatever. They want to go against mom for a while. It's fine. It's fine. I don't care. I don't argue with them about it. I'll just say, ask them, if we have a conversation, I'll bring up counterpoints in conversation, but I don't get mad. I don't yell at them. I don't require them to profess that they believe the earth is flat. But I definitely gave them all the information and they have the knowledge. They can do with it what they choose. First Full is a flat club. But but when they're children and they're in school, that's probably not the best idea to have them bring that stuff up in school and then, possibly get themselves in trouble or start arguments or get reprimanded by the teacher. I just leave those conversations for home time talk until they get older. But when they're young, like we're talking like elementary school age, like I'm just like, don't bring any of this stuff up in school. We're here in the circumstances of life to learn and make the right decisions. Yep. Avoid alienation. Exactly, Valley. There's no reason. They're teenagers, Bill. Young teenagers. I do and did the same thing with my boys. They don't have to talk about it at school. Exactly. Because you don't want them to be like, you know, going through puberty and, you know, going through things like junior high and high school with how cruel children are to each other. The last thing that you want to do is introduce another layer of complexity and issues on top of all that. And you don't want to make your children a target for bullying by other children, you know? So that's why I did it that way. You know, you got to think about most of the world is not ready for this conversation. Even though we've been doing it for years and years, and we've been discussing it for years, most of the people are not ready for this conversation. So, you know what I mean? So just never force it on anybody. I only talk to people who are curious and ask me for more information. Exactly. No need to invite more problems. That's a fact. No need to invite more problems. Invite. Their cognitive dissonance will be triggered. Exactly. Sufi Bear. Ken Wheeler did a good video on Moonlight, yet Harmon's findings are interesting too. Yeah. Yeah, it is interesting. Harmon did a very thorough testing, and he says he didn't get the different temperatures, but you know, I think there's still something to it. Too many people get differing results for there to not be something to it, although maybe we could figure out some sort of thorough test to try it for sure, or have multiple people follow a certain test and see what results we get. Don't truckers who have a high load have to check their route for low bridges before they leave? Yeah. Just don't feel like bearing the burden of proof anymore. Well, exactly. You know, it's just arguing. I'm so over arguing with anybody. Nice. Good for your boy. Happy birthday. Oh, you got a your son is a Taurus. Sweet. Just like me. Hey, Chicago artist. East Indians don't check their route. I think that tests should be done in nature, not cities where too many variables exist. Yeah, that's probably a good... That's what Harmon did. He, like, went out to the desert or something. Let me see if I can find his... I forget what his channel was called. I think it's this one. Does the moon cast cool light? Yeah. Hey, wait, this... You take all your videos down? Harmon? There was like a whole bunch of videos before. Did he take them all down? Why would you take those down, Harmon? There used to be like a whole series of videos. Now it's not there.
Okay, it's 1950 hours here in Laughlin, Nevada. And I brought all 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 rocks. I checked all the temperatures and I let them set outside my tailgate. My tailgate is right here. Tailgate to my truck. Rocks are down here on the ground in front of it. Okay. Now I'll take temperature of all these rocks. First one. .4. Second one. Same temperature. Third one. Same temperature. Fourth one. Same temperature. Fifth one.
See, but then it's not. He had them all different because
1 degree cooler.
he didn't have them edited together. So then there was like a whole series where it was like some was in the daytime and some was at
cooler.
nighttime. I don't
Just
know
if
what
they dropped that much
he
in
did.
just that quick a time.
Have you ever taken down your videos, and if so,
within
why?
a half a degree or so.
Yeah, I did, but my channel was getting strikes. Like they started because when COVID hit, I did that a couple of times because they were going back and retroactively giving strikes and stuff for old videos. So some of them I did take down, but not something simple like this, like taking temperatures of rocks. Nobody gives a shit about you taking temperatures of rocks. Yeah. Oh, so they were sailing this ship. The Mexican Navy was sailing the ship all over the world. And undertaking her 42nd training cruise and will visit Australia and New Zealand. Well, not anymore. So, this is 2024. Not 2025. This press release is old. I took down most of my old videos for a fresh start. Yeah. Was in San Diego a year ago. Yeah. Had a whole bunch of GB Glowbusters randomly removed with no notices or warning again, including Heart video that was just slides of us and Solfeggio by Alex Michael. Really? Yeah, see, YouTube will just... I freaking hate YouTube. What, the Coronado Bridge? Coronado Bridge is pretty tall. But, you know, they make it big because it's a Navy town. So they, you know, they made it so they could bring all their big ships in and out of the bay there in San Diego. San Diego Bay is really cool. I remember hanging out there in the San Diego Bay, and that boat that won the World Cup one year was out there sailing around. One of those World Cup boats. You know what I'm talking about? I saw some pretty cool stuff there in San Diego, I will say. It was cool to live in San Diego. If you have to be in Southern California, San Diego is one of the better cities, even though it's super crowded and super expensive and ridiculous. It's actually kind of fun and chill too. You just have to have a lot of money. A lot of freaking money. Whale's vagina, yeah. Man. Yeah, YouTube sucks. YouTube really sucks. Also great surf around San Diego. Yeah, the beaches in San Diego were awesome. I loved going to the beach when I was living there in San Diego. I loved it. I loved to go there and swim. Because the water's warmer than in Northern California, where it's freaking cold. American's Cup. What the heck is that? That sound. Is that just you?
Me coming up the stairs?
No. Oh, I see. The mic's picking up the box.
Oh, that here. They're so cool.
Ooh.
Yeah. But like even like shuffling them, aren't they pretty?
Holy smokes, these are cool. Wow. Let's see, can we, where's my thing? We'll show, these gold foil tarot. Oh, why is my camera all screwy?
I don't know, it just dropped the stream earlier downstairs. It just like went off. I was like, oh.
I don't understand why this is all moved over here.
I teleported.
There we go. Why was that different? Oops, wrong button. Let's hit that. Okay. So we're looking at these gold foil
Tarot.
yeah.
They're so pretty.
These are shiny.
They are shiny.
Let's see. I'm gonna shuffle.
They're kind of slippery at first, but like they fall together like perfectly.
Ooh.
Isn't that amazing? I know.
Look at. Let's see. I'll move my camera down. I'm gonna have to get going in a minute so I can go get my daughter. She doesn't need. She's no, emergency, but.
Oh, they're so satisfying.
These are so pretty too.
Aren't they gorgeous?
The Empress card.
It's so pretty. They're like holographic.
Dude, those are cool.
Right?
Crazy.
I know, I don't understand how they did it. How are they even... It's just really neat. Chariot.
These are cool.
Yeah. Show the back of it. The back is really pretty too. And it's like, they're all textury, but they're thin and they're not like
like full, it's not like a deck of cards. It's a different style, like a totally different style of tarot cards. It feels like really thin. It's almost like they're printed on like really thin pieces of gold metal.
Whoa.
Right? I love the colors too. And that background, that's so cool. Neat. So yeah, I was gifted this from the great and honorable Karen B.
Well, she said she lost tarot
I
cards,
lost my whole tarot
all her
collection.
tarot cards.
All my
So we had to
crystals.
get Nico back in tarot cards.
Yes. So, yes. They're just gorgeous.
Are the Rider-Waite set or Crowley setup?
It's Rider-Waite.
I think it's after Rider-Waite. So I got her the...
I don't usually use a Thoth deck. I like it, but I don't usually use it. It's just really geometric, and it can get really, like, complicated, I guess. I don't know. The cards don't really talk to me as much as, like, the Tarot de Varse.
Which kind?
The Thoth deck.
Oh, I don't know if I've seen that one.
It's really geometric. It's the one by Aleister Crowley.
Mm.
But he wasn't the artist, but I think he wrote a lot of it. And then the Tarot de Marseille, I love that one.
Yeah,
too.
Rider-Waite style. Cami says she wants to play too.
I want to play. They're really, really pretty. I've never even seen a deck like this. It's gorgeous.
How do you see the Crow 777 sun pictures with the corona ejections? Are they real? Yeah, I think they're real. Thank you for calling Coffee Talk Around with Karen B.
Hi, Karen B. Let me shut down my screen here. Hey, hey.
What's up, Valley?
Hi, Valley.
Hey, Nico. So, I've been out truck shopping, and I met up with Tony Corellis last night. We had a wonderful night, blah, 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 right?
Mm-hmm.
And I've decided what truck I don't want to buy. My brother had to call me off a Denali, scratching and wanting to buy it. It was in my budget, but it's just too big. I need a smaller truck. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
I need a smaller footprint. And you know they don't make trucks without a crew cab anymore. They're all crew cabs.
Really?
It's me, my dog, and I. I don't need a crew cab. And that, when you back trailers, that makes your turning radius wider and longer. You can't crank it up and wind it in. Can you back a trailer, Karen B?
No. I never drive with a trailer.
So I'm going to teach you. I could teach you in 10 minutes how to back a trailer.
Well, Ted drives with a trailer. He knows how to do it.
So, the other thing is, I feel energized or whatever you call it, from Tony and I meeting up last night. It was very nice.
Cool. Tony's a great guy.
And I may have to compromise my standards. I may have to get an SUV, but I need something. And I'm working on 240,000 miles on my cream puff.
Wow. My Honda's
Well, I
almost
take
got
good care of my
200,000.
I take good care of my cars.
Yeah, if you got that much miles out of it, I'm sure you do.
So happy dance, right? Happy dance.
Yes.
So let's tell Nico if she needs to fashion a eye patch for her cat. I can help her because I sew.
Okay, cool.
I don't know how we're going to do it or what we're going to do, but I sew. And she may need help with that. And as the kitten grows, she would need larger ones, right?
I suppose. I mean, I don't see a cat leaving anything on its face, personally.
Well, you might have to clip their front nails.
Everybody in chat is now giving instructions on how to drive with a trailer. Yes, I know you're supposed to put your hand at the bottom and then you turn the direction.
Okay, I don't think you need to. Y'all need to tell me anything. Okay.
They're telling. I don't know. They're probably telling me, but it doesn't matter because Ted drives the trailer anyway. Not me.
Oh, Lord have mercy. Lord have mercy. Can you all put your hands to the Lord? We've seen a wreck last night. Lord have mercy. 2 motorcycles were racing on the freeway in the HUV lane or whatever they call it, and one of us scrambled on the pavement when we approached the wreck that had just happened, and his motorcycle was about 200 feet from him, and his helmet was in the 3rd lane, and we had to stop for the guy to pick up his brain bucket. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And I think they were performing CPR, and I just put my hands to the Lord and started praying, right? And I said, he's an organ donor. When he went by us, he was going at least 90, right? That didn't work out so well for him, did it?
Mm-mm.
Anyway, I think they were performing CPR, and, you know, the helmet, the motorcycle, it was not looking good, okay? Put your hands to the Lord.
Jeez.
Yeah. That was unsettling.
Mm-hmm.
So anyway, on a happier note, I have 2 other good things to say. I got my thing from Ice Queen. I got a Zulu 1 keychain, and I always wanted one, but I didn't get one, and I was gifted one.
Oh, that's awesome.
That's very sweet, and it's very precious to me, and I'm giving thanks to Ice Queen.
Yeah, thank you, Ice Queen, aka Linda, Zulu's wife.
Well, you know what? We all know what loss is like, right?
Yeah, unfortunately. Yes, we do.
So, I got my, my Flat Earth coaster at Oktoberfest, right?
Mm-hmm.
And now I have a matching phone stand. Isn't that cool?
A matching what?
Phone stand, where you put your phone in it.
Oh, okay, cool.
It's like a rack.
That's cool.
Yeah, so that's all I got.
Right on. Are you enjoying yourself in Arizona?
No, I'm still a hermit.
Oh, okay. Okay.
But I have Mexican food that's phenomenal about 100 feet from my back door.
Oh, yeah. That's one thing I do
I'm in
miss, the
Mexican
abundance
food heaven.
of good Mexican food. Yeah, for sure.
Well, that's all I got, Karen. And, you know, I want my hat back from Tammy.
Oh, I'm sure she still has it. We can send it to you. Email me a mailing address and we'll send it to you. I'll send it to you.
Well, just give it to Carl. He comes out there.
Okay, well, we'll figure it out. But we'll get it back to you.
I love my hat. You know that, right?
Yeah.
Oh, and Tony gave me a hat.
Oh, cool. What kind of
I
hat?
always wear a hat outside. I'm kind of a shady person.
Yeah, I started wearing a lot of hats too because the sun could be brutal.
All right. Well, much love, Karen B. And, you know, we're all trying. And I'm not sure I'm going to buy a big pickup truck. I might get an SUV.
Yeah, well, just get whatever works for you. Get something comfortable. The dog will love it no matter what.
I can't fit my dog crate in the back of a GMC SUV.
Oh.
Because the window is too slanted.
Oh.
So I would have to put the seats down, and my dog has to be crated.
Yeah. All right, Valley.
So Wait, I have one more thing to say.
Okay.
Speaking of kittens, guess what we found yesterday?
A kitten?
No, a litter of feral kittens under my basement.
Oh no!
Yeah. We got a situation. And my dog tells me, I call them puss pusses, right? Where's the puss puss? And she goes to the 2 doors where they get in. But luckily, my pit bull is very kind to kittens, chickens, rabbits, goats. She's not aggressive.
Well, that's
So
good.
we're going to have to get the kittens out of there eventually and figure out what to do.
Yeah. Yeah, that's rough.
Well, anyway, I'm a happy camper today, and it's good to talk to you, and much love.
All right, much love, Valley. Thanks for calling.
Catch you later.
Okay, take care. I would have to say that I do not think scripture says to avoid tarot cards. It says to avoid witchcraft and divination. That's not what tarot is. Tarot is not witchcraft. Thank you for calling Coffee Talk. You're on with Karen B.
Hey Karen, this is Curvature Note from TikTok. How you doing?
Good, how are you?
Doing pretty good. Retard. Sorry, I just had to say that. I'm not allowed to say that over there on TikTok. But I wanted to jump on. Had you ever watched the Earthing movie or Down to Earth?
No.
It was a great film. Somebody mentioned it to me a couple of years ago, and I watched it. It's a great film, and it talks about the simply grounding, going outside, stick your feet in the dirt. They do, and I'll call them out. There's a little bit of nonsense in the movie. Otherwise, yeah, it's a good film, and I suggest it to lots of people. I just want to make a shout out. I don't know why it was stuck back in my head last week, and watched it like 3 or 4 times again, and just want to make a shout out.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, they did a lot of really, really good work.
Nice.
All right, I guess my bank's calling me, so I cut it short. Keep crushing, Karen. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Bye. So... divination. Divination, witchcraft. Practice divination, use... Let's see. To divine, practice divination, divination, witchcraft. What is divine? What do they... determined by lot or magical scroll by implication to divine. Enchantment, enchanter. Although it's not really enchanting. Nah, okay. Practice divination, divine, observe signs, learn by experience, diligently observe, practice, fortune telling, take as an omen. Fortune telling. Okay, fortune telling is predicting the future, but whenever we use tarot cards, we're not predicting the future. Yeah. What's up, Brandon C? Yeah, we're not casting spells. We're not enchanting. It's more like trying to understand, get a broader view of certain life situations or things that are going on. It's not really predicting a future or casting spells or anything like that. At least that's what I consider it to be. Anyway, you know, people can interpret that any kind of different way. If you think that tarot cards are divination, then just don't play with tarot cards. It's just that simple. Long conversation with Rob. Yeah, we all miss Bob and Rob. Gaining perspective. Yeah, it's just more like sort of kind of getting a better understanding of things that happen in world. Well, I know, but it's like, you know, a lot of people, but there's a lot of people who do think that it's like, it's witchcraft, and it's totally not. It's not the same as witchcraft. Let me see if there's a definition for witchcraft here. Oops, I spelled it wrong. It would help if you spell it right. That's the same definition as the other one. False prophets. Here, oh, look at this. So here, witchcraft, the word they translate from witchcraft is kasem. Kasem. Here, the word for witchcraft, look, idolatry and witchcraft, click on it, pharmakeia. Medication, that is, by extension, magic, literal or figurative sorcery, witchcraft. So pharmakeia is actually witchcraft. Hilarious. Is this also a separate word? Oh, here's witchcraft, even a different one. So what's this word they call witchcraft? Kashaf, to practice witchcraft or sorcery, use witchcraft. Sorcerer, sorceress. Properly, to whisper a spell, that is, to enchant or practice magic. It's crazy how there's a bunch of different root words and they all just call it, it's all falls under witchcraft. So this is where, like, you know, the translations can kind of get confusing and maybe not so much the correct conclusion. Anyway, even right here, but when I search the word witchcraft, all three of these witchcraft words here have a different root word. That could be like a whole deep dive in and of itself, I'm sure. If it means anything, Rob was fascinated with info I found on tarot cards and matched up with info he found in scripture. We were cross-referencing information. Yeah. I mean, that one card has the tarot on it. The what is it? Is it the Empress? Or the High Priestess? It might be the High Priestess. Tarot is not enchanting anything or making or using pharmakeia. Yeah, I agree, Billingtano, it's not. But, you know, whatever. Liars and dupes unite? What are you talking about? Thank you, Benjamin. What is that supposed to mean? I don't know what it's supposed to mean. Astronomy versus astrology. Yeah, astrology is the real study of the sky. It was all astrology before. Just like biology, geology, astrology, you know? Like, Makes me wonder what is the difference in the meaning of the suffix between astronomy and astrology. So let's see. Astronomy. Word forming element principally in the science, forming names of disciplines describing natural laws or scientific methods, from the Greek nomia, method, nomos, managing, nomos, law, usage, custom, from the verb nemein, to manage, root, nomi. Okay, so, and then ology, branch of knowledge, science, now the usual form of logi, originally used in 1800. It gained legitimacy by influence of the proper formation in geology, mythology, etc., where the O is a stem vowel in the previous element. Branch of knowledge or science. So that's what that means. And the other one meant what? Method. It just means method. Interesting. Logics and not. All right, you guys, I'm gonna have to shut it down. I'm gonna get going. I'm gonna go get my daughter and get on with my day. We've reached noon. I know I usually go longer than that, but got people here, and you know, life is happening all around me, and I must oblige. So ology is recently made up. No, that'd be nomi, the nomi one. Ology is a branch of knowledge, and then the nomi one is forming names of disciplines describing natural laws or scientific methods. It's not the same as a branch of knowledge. But your local hospital sure does spells and pushes. Exactly. All right, we'll see you guys soon. Have a wonderful day, wonderful week. Take care of yourself. Remember, there's no lie in nature, and stop letting the lies of shitty people make you think that this place isn't worth living in, because it is. You just have to surround yourself with the good folks. And on that note, I'll see you all later. You can send physical mail to P.O. Box 10, Earl, North Carolina 28038. You can also follow me on Ko-Fi.com, and if you enjoy my shows and want to send me a tip, anything and everything is greatly appreciated, and thank you. And it's official. Flat Earth Festivals has been retired. It was great fun while it lasted, and I hope you all cherish the memories we made at Flattoberfest as much as I do, and it was a pleasure to watch so many online friendships become in real life friendships over the years. Thank you so much, and I'll see you next time.